gentlemen,
Begin counting down.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
ladies and gentlemen, it's a show time.
Hey everybody, I'm Jason Ferguson, Senior Director of Security Operations at ConnectWise. After a little bit more than a decade here, I wear a few different hats, but primarily I focus on our public disclosure and our vulnerability management programs. Outside of work, my main job titles are husband and dad to 6 kids, all under the age of 11. So yes, my house is very loud, and no, I don't get much sleep. And that brings us to today, stress. Something that most of us in tech deal with. More specifically, we're going to talk about hacking stress. Now, hacking this might seem strange, but if you think about it, most of us spend our days breaking down complex systems, spotting weaknesses, and optimizing systems. Why not apply that same mindset to ourselves? And that's the idea here. We'll dig into some real practical strategies, and I promise to keep the cheesy metaphors to a minimum. I'm just kidding. The whole thing's a metaphor. It doesn't matter what industry you're in or where you work. This is going to reference cybersecurity, but really you can swap anything here out for what relates to you. As you'll see, we all run some common core systems. So let's get into it. First, why hack stress? Well, let's start with this. The data's undeniable, and it hits right at the heart of our industry. 76% of tech professionals reported burnout in this last year. That's 3 out of 4 of us. 68% find work-family balance a serious challenge, and 42% deal with physical health issues directly tied to work stress. This isn't about people not being tough enough or smart enough or even capable enough. It's not a personal failing, and it's systemic. If you've felt this way, you're not an outlier, you're the norm. But here's the thing. We work in complex systems daily, breaking problems, spotting inefficiencies, patching vulnerabilities. What if we aimed that same mindset inward? And what if we audit our lives like we do our networks? That's where, for me, things start to get a little bit interesting, because if we do that, we don't just survive tech life, we thrive in it. So before we dive too far in, I do have a quick confession. Due to some ongoing professional and personal events, I struggled to find the time to prepare this talk as naturally or as polished as I'd like. So if I seem scripted or I'm staring at the screen, you're not wrong. There's no excuses here. I'm just sharing my context to set the expectation. I still think we're going to have a good time. In March, my 6th son was born, and this was me moments before, on the phone, handling a security issue. Of course, no life event is complete without incident response, right? But what really got me, though, is that my wife took this picture. I didn't even notice. I didn't even realize it was happening. I was that checked out. Not even a month later, after promising my wife I'd go in tomorrow if I still felt bad, I ended up in the ER and I was hooked up to an EKG. Everything was fine. I'm fine. Everything checked out. But the story I like to say is that my heart grew just a few sizes too big. Kind of like the Grinch. But here's the real point. These things stack up. Even while preparing to talk about stress and burnout, I found myself in a bit of denial. And people always tell me that you can't pour from an empty cup, and what I've learned is you also can't pour from a cup that's overflowing. So without further ado, let's get into it. We're going to do this in one live run, no edits. So if I drop something on my foot or a plane goes overhead, we're all going to deal with it together. I want to start by stepping back and share a philosophy that changed my ability to deal with life's up and downs. It was an old Taoist parable of an old man and his horse. Once upon a time, because that's how all good stories go, there was an elderly farmer living in a poor village, and he was known for his wisdom and his only prized possession, a beautiful, strong horse. His only horse, crucial for his livelihood, runs away. His neighbors all exclaim, "Oh, what terrible luck." But the old man simply replies, "Maybe yes, maybe no, we'll see." Or, as some versions say, "Who knows what is good and what is bad fortune?" The point here is the outlook. A few weeks later, his horse returns, and it brings with it a herd of wild horses. The neighbors all celebrate. "What incredible good luck! How lucky you are! Such a blessing," they say. The old man, he just says, "Maybe yes, maybe no, we'll see." Then his son, one day while trying to tame one of those wild horses, falls off and breaks his leg. Again, the neighbors rush in. "Oh, such misfortune," they say. And the old man, "Maybe yes, maybe no, we'll see." Shortly after that, war breaks out, and military officials come to the village and conscript all the healthy young men. But because his son's leg is broken, he's spared from the draft. Many of those same other young men from the village never returned from the war. "What good luck you have," the villagers all say. So what's the point of this story, and what does it have to do with burnout or stress? Well, events themselves are often neutral. It's our judgment, our labeling of them as good or bad, that shapes our experience, and subsequently how much stress they generate. To me, this parable isn't just a story. It became a lens, and it was one I had to use repeatedly to make sense of my own life this past year. Because for me, 2024 was a year of thing after thing after thing. My 2024 felt pretty rough. I had escalated security events at the beginning of the year, no jinx, and those meant long hours, high pressure, and stress. Then I ran into marriage trouble. My mentor left, and my dad passed away almost immediately after. It was one thing after another, and I wasn't even halfway through the year. But here's what I didn't expect. Those same events, as painful and overwhelming as they seemed, helped set the stage for some very unexpected positives. My marriage trouble led to more open communication and a shared understanding of needs. That intense work stretch and the leadership gap, it led to a promotion. And that promotion, it let me do something I've wanted for my entire life: buy a home for my family. All of it showed me what feels like a catastrophe can often be a catalyst for meaningful change, or just open new doors. Trying to label each thing as good or bad in the moment was exhausting, and it added unnecessary stress. Eventually, I had to adopt a little bit of that old man's wisdom, and to paraphrase, shit happens. That's not always a bad thing. So, with that perspective in mind, the idea that what seems like bad fortune today might open doors for tomorrow, and vice versa, I want to start deconstructing some of those specific systems that generate stress in our daily lives. First, we live in an always-on world with high stakes and high pressure. If you think about incident response, tight deadlines, and how real the consequences are if things go wrong, that pressure never really lets up. It creates a constant sense of urgency. And then there's the rapid patch cycle of knowledge. Technology changes so fast that we have to constantly keep learning just to stay current. And with remote work, those blurred boundaries between work and home, sometimes it feels like they don't even exist at all. It's a tough environment to manage. And on top of all of that external pressure, many of us struggle with something personal inside. Imposter syndrome. Looking back, I think maybe I should have called this slide the ultimate insider threat, because that's what it is. To our own internal systems, that's exactly what it feels like. It's that nagging voice that tells you you're a fraud, even when you got the wins to prove otherwise. That feeling that your success is just luck, not skill. And guess what? It's common. Random internet searches say that over half of tech professionals feel it at some point. Top experts, influencers, the people that you look up to readily and openly admit it. So why does tech make us feel so vulnerable to this threat? Well, that same rapid pace means that there's always gaps in what we know. It can feel like everybody else has the answer, and in many of our positions, it's often not about how many times we're right. It's on that one time that we get it wrong. That moment sticks with us. These feelings build a direct pipeline of stress into our daily work. They fuel anxiety, perfectionism, and push us to overwork, desperately trying to prove ourselves. And that's a fast lane to burnout. This internal battle with imposter syndrome often doesn't happen alone. For many, it's layered on top of another demanding and rewarding system in itself, the parenting kernel. If the cyber grind is one operating system, then the parenting kernel is another powerful system that many of us are running in parallel. Most parents recognize this. It's a 24/7 process with no logout. Needs come up constantly and unpredictably. This creates resource contention. You're trying to share your limited time, energy, and availability between both systems. It's kind of like a lifelong pager duty. You're always on call. And for many of us, it is a role that we gladly signed up for. But there's more than just time. There's the emotional load. We're not just managing our own stress. We're also supporting our kids' emotions and often our partners too. And if you're like me with a wife and 6 kids, you're always deciding how to divide that last bit of processing power. And that brings us to the guiltware, that constant background feeling that you're not doing enough in either role. You're never fully present anywhere. And when those two core systems, work and family, inevitably collide, that's when the conflict log pops up its ugly head. In our analogy here, the conflict log is the reality of missing your kid's school play because of a work deadline or an urgent alert that interrupts family dinner. You're physically there, but your mind is just completely somewhere else. And for most of us, the mental load from constantly switching between work and home is just exhausting. So how do we manage all these systems and how do we start hacking this stress? Well, like any good hacker or defender, we're going to build some toolkits with practical strategies for attacking and protecting. First up is a work stress toolkit. So first in our toolkit, implementing work boundary firewalls. These are your personal rules to keep the work from completely taking over. First, define your perimeter. This means knowing your real work hours, when you're truly on the clock and when you're not. Create simple start and end rituals like a quick walk or switching off the light. These small, consistent actions help your brain flip the switch between work and home mode. And second, you have to take control of your notifications. Those endless pings from email and chat, they're designed to pull you back to work. I'll see something come through, have a thought, and the next thing I know, it's 2 o'clock in the morning. I get up at 6. That is not sustainable. So be ruthless. Turn off work notifications at a certain time. Use sleep mode to signal to yourself that it's time to close up shop and turn your phone off for the night. For emails, just use filters so only truly urgent things grab your attention. You must reclaim your off time. Next up, I want to talk about workload optimization. We can't control how much lands on our plate, but we can control how we tackle it. 3 key strategies. First, time blocking. Carve out specific chunks of time for your focused work. Set yourself focusing in messaging applications like Team or Slack if possible, and don't forget the breaks. My world is end-to-end meetings, so try 45-minute meetings instead of an hour, or even 40. Those little extra gaps, they're vital to regroup and stay sharp. Block out your lunch or keep a consistent slot at the end of the day to wrap up loose ends. And second, smart delegation. Look, I get it. Sometimes it feels easier just to do it yourself. But delegating not only lightens your workload, it also helps your team grow. We all learned by doing, so give your team those chances to build confidence and experience. And finally, manage expectations. With leadership, teams, clients, be upfront and realistic about timelines and any bumps. Nobody likes last-minute surprises, so be clear and be direct. If you're looking at the slide, you might be asking, what about the first bullet? Task analysis. So here's something that's familiar to most, the 4-box quadrant. And in my presentation, I would say, grab a picture really quick, because unfortunately, I haven't properly worked this into my timing. So if you're unfamiliar, again, take a picture really quick or look it up later. It's called the Eisenhower Matrix. These 4 simple boxes outline a simple and very straightforward principle for managing your workload based on categorization and prioritization. Do, decide, delegate, or delete. Pick one. Stress isn't just about tasks, though. It's also about people, so navigating the workplace is just as important. First, you need to communicate your needs clearly. If your workload is unsustainable or you have personal obligations, talk to your leadership. They can't help if they don't know. For example, one of my sons is autistic and he has a unique schedule. I arranged to take Friday afternoons off to pick him up. It's not a 4-day work week. I still get my hours in, but it gives me that little bit of extra flexibility and it reduces my family's stress. Second, foster a supportive team culture. Look out for signs of burnout in your colleagues. Make it normal, even encouraged, to ask for help or offer it. A culture where it's okay to not be okay, that is healthy. Protect each other. And finally, take your leave, all of it. Seriously, use your vacation time and disconnect completely. It's essential to keep well performing over time. We have a thing at work called flex time at ConnectWise, and it's exactly that. It's flexible time off. However, for some of us who overperform constantly, not having those clearly defined vacation times causes us not to take those earned benefits. And if you want to take taking time off easier, document your key processes. That way, your team knows what to do and nobody else is stressed out while you're away. Now, let's directly tackle that monster we discussed earlier, imposter syndrome, head on. We're going to hack this threat with a very simple 4-step protocol. First, acknowledgement. When those imposter feelings show up, just recognize them. Name it. Understand that it's common. It's not a personal failure. It's a signal that we all feel sometimes. And if we can identify the signal, we can disrupt it. Second, proof of work. This is your evidence log. Keep a notepad, a file, an email folder for positive feedback. Solve problems, completed projects. When doubt creeps in, review your own data. This is your evidence of your own competence. And third, Debug your thinking. Ask yourself, what's the actual evidence for this? Where is this thought coming from? Turn those harsh judgments into simple observations. And talk to trusted colleagues or peers. They'll point out strengths in you that you didn't even see. And finally, and perhaps most importantly, separate feelings from reality. Feeling like an imposter is real, but that feeling doesn't always reflect your true worth or ability. Often, your self-worth alone is enough. I want to talk about something that most of us deal with, and that's performance rating systems. A lot of companies use them, and in theory, they're meant to help us grow. But in reality, they can often become huge sources of stress for certain personality types. Why? Because it's easy to start tying your entire self-worth to where you land on this scale, a number, a ranking, a label. But here's the truth. Your value, your real value, it's so much bigger than any one metric or review cycle. These systems don't see late nights. They don't see mentoring, the quiet wins, the personal growth, or the family priorities you had to balance just to be there. So yes, this feedback is important, but don't let a rating define you. At ConnectWise, I learned to challenge a common misconception, and that's meeting expectations is a good rating. It's a good rating. I'm going to say that one more time, just in case it didn't land. Meeting expectations is good. It means you're doing your job as designed. You're competent, you're reliable, you're valuable. Resist the pressure, internal and external, to always be exceptional, and ask, what is good enough? When just doing your job well feels like failure, that's a system problem, not a you problem. And this nonstop race to overperform is unsustainable. It's a straight shot to burnout, so you have to defend your core and hold the line on your own worth. This brings us to a new internal tool that I want to talk about, the I am protocol. Now, think about all the positive ways that we usually describe ourselves. At work, we might say, I am capable, I'm resourceful, I am knowledgeable, or maybe by our core roles. I am a parent, I am a partner, I'm a friend. All of these things are important. Don't get me wrong, they do matter. They reflect the roles we play and the strengths that we bring into the world. But they're not the whole of who you are. Those are roles, labels, descriptors. So I'd like for you all to try something with me. I want you to strip away those extra qualifiers just for a moment. Let go of how well you're doing at something. Beyond, I am capable. I am a good parent. I am an exceptional employee. What's left? Let go of the job title, the parenting performance, the metrics. Just, I am. I am. That is enough. You are enough. Meeting expectations isn't failure, it's fulfillment. You don't have to be exceptional to be worthy. I am is your anchor. When stress hits, when criticism lands, when self-doubt creeps in, come back to it. Say it in your head if you need to. I am. That is a grounding statement. Now, we've talked through some of the tools that help us thrive in a work domain, and that reminder of our core worth supports all of it. But for many of us to truly thrive, we need to shift our focus just a little bit, because there's another system that's just as demanding and just as deserving as strategy. Let's talk about hacking home stress. All right, home toolkit. And just like at work, clear communication is critical. Let's build those communication channels. So first, partner check-ins. If you have a partner, make time to sync up. And I don't just mean what's on the calendar, what's for dinner. I mean checking in on stress levels, emotional energy. What support do you each need? In my case, sometimes I just say, I'm having a hard time today. And my wife gets it. She adjusts, she supports, but that only works because we've built that rhythm through a lot of open conversation. Second, and this one's huge, active listening. When a family member is talking to you, especially kids, put the phone down. Close the laptop, turn the chair, make eye contact. Ask follow-up questions. Show them that they have your full attention, even if it's just for 3 minutes. Those 3 minutes of quality attention, it builds deep trusts. It says you mean more to me than the next notification. And third, child-friendly work talk. And this one's kind of a dumb secret weapon, but if you've got kids, explain your job in a way that they actually get. Don't say, Daddy is a tier muckety-muck SOC VP managing threat escalations across multiple dynamic verticals, right? Say, Daddy protects computers from bad guys. It's simple, it's clear, and it helps them connect. I tell my kids, Daddy is an ethical hacker. They know what's up. They give me space when I say I need focus time because they understand. We communicate and they want to support me too. Strong communication at home isn't just about logistics. It's about empathy, attention, and translation. When we get that right, it unlocks a real connection. And that's what we're going to build on next. All right, so this one's close to the heart. We're talking about prioritizing quality family time. And I want you to notice something. The key word here is not family, it's quality. So first, schedule consistent family activities. Just like you'd schedule that big QBR or leadership sync, intentionally schedule family time. It doesn't have to be elaborate. It could be a simple, regular game night, a weekend walk, or just reading together before bed. I do daddy-daughter days with my girls, and my toenails are pink literally right now because of it. But it's more than cute. It's memorable. Those little moments, that's where connection lives. Second, be present, not just physically there. And this one's tough, especially for those of us in high responsibility roles. But listen, 15 minutes of undistracted present time is worth more than 2 hours of distracted half there scrolling. So put the phone away, Slack can wait, the moment matters. And third, focus on connection, not perfection. It's okay if the house isn't spotless or dinner isn't a perfect meal. If you're having fun with a mess on the floor or everybody's sitting around some mac and cheese talking and laughing, you're doing it right. The goal isn't a perfect home, it's a connected one. So we've covered those external systems. The work toolkit, check. The home toolkit, check. But one more system runs everything. Ourselves. So next, let's talk about securing the core. This is your personal firewall. So rule number 1, self-care is non-negotiable. It's not a luxury. It's not selfish. And it's definitely not something you do only after everything else is done. Think about self-care like patching your own vulnerabilities, proactively updating your system to prevent failure. For us, system failure looks a lot like burnout. So this isn't optional. It's a critical system requirement. So what does this look like in practice? Well, first, prioritize good sleep. I'm not Elon Musk. 6 to 8 hours is crucial for everything from judgment making to emotional regulation. Sleep is a productivity tool. And second, movement breaks. I'm not talking about joining CrossFit. Even short work or short walks are like a brain reboot. And if you work from home, Sometimes I'll take a 5-minute shower in the middle of the day. It's a total reset. And third, joy rituals. These are those little things that bring you happiness. No return on investment needed. They're not indulgences, they're fuel. For me, it's sour candy, going to the shooting range, and collecting weird sugar skull themed stuff. I don't know why, I just do, and it makes me happy. Find your version, protect it, schedule it. These are your personal firewall rules. But here's the thing. Even the best systems cannot run in isolation because we're not meant to operate alone. So next, let's talk about your support network. Self-care, crucial, but like I said, we're not meant to go it alone, and trying to do everything solo, that's how systems crash. A lot of us get by with a little help from our friends. It's a Beatles quote. So what does a network look like? Let's start with your colleagues. They get it. The stress, the workload, the demands of your space. Lean on them. They're part of your toolkit. Next, parent peers. If you have kids, no one understands the chaos of balancing home and work life like another parent in the trenches. And don't forget your family and friends. They all want to help, all of these people, but they can't read your mind and communicate to them. Last year, when I was dealing with my dad passing, I posted a message on Facebook. And a good colleague friend of mine, John Helms, who was on main stage at IG Nation this year, reached out. We grabbed lunch. We didn't talk about anything important, but it was exactly what I needed. It was a reminder that connection doesn't always have to be deep. Sometimes it's just a light conversation I just had to ask. A few beers and a good friend. And finally, don't hesitate to seek professional help. This is 2025. Therapy, it's not a weakness. It's preventative maintenance for your mind. You don't have to wait until you're falling apart to talk to somebody. We'll tune up almost anything. Systems, computers, car engines. Why not our thoughts? And we're surrounded by support systems right now. When I gave this talk, I was at a large conference called IT Nation, and it's not just a ConnectWise event. It's a community. MSP, MSSP, insert whatever acronym you want, but that's a village that supports in a time of feast or famine. So we've talked about systems, support, and self-care, but what's the engine underneath all of it? What keeps us running when we're tired, when we're low, when the pressure hits? Let's talk about reconnecting with your why. So finally, the foundation under everything we've talked about, finding your why, rebooting your purpose. So let's just slow down for a second and reflect. I'd like you all to just briefly think for just a moment about your own motivations. What drew you into this space originally? Was it curiosity, problem solving, the thrill of building or breaking? Did you think you'd get a good paycheck? Think back to what lit the spark initially. Those things, they still matter. Take time, even just once a quarter, to revisit that origin story. That's your story. It can recharge you more than you realize. Next, if you have one, why family? If you have a family, ask yourself, what moments bring the most joy and connection? What are the small daily rituals or events that ground you? I've taught 3 of my kids how to ride bikes. That's fuel that I can't get anywhere else. And now this last one is key. Define your own success. Let go of somebody else's checklist. Release the pressure of what winning looks like to others. What is your version of a good life? What do you value the most? And how do you build around that? That becomes your compass. And don't forget just one deceptively simple practice, daily gratitude. Each day, pick just 1 or 2 small things that you're thankful for. It could be a message from a friend. It could be the silence after bedtime, right? It could be a good cup of coffee first thing in the morning. These moments seem small, but over time, they'll start to reshape your perspective. And as we conclude our hacking stress journey, what's our system status? Besides exhaustion from running between sessions if you're at the conference, hopefully now you have some tools for a systems check and you're no longer as overloaded. We've covered what stress is, how to reframe it, and toolkits for work, home, and defending your core. We've discussed intrinsic worth, the I am protocol, and dismantling that imposter threat that lives in us. The big takeaway: this isn't a one-time patch. Balancing well-being is iterative, a personal patch cycle of constant updates and minor fixes. You don't have to do it all at once. You shouldn't. One new boundary, one honest conversation, one small new self-care ritual. These tiny, inconsistent, or consistent shifts build up, and they're what create meaningful change. Just do them slowly. And here's my challenge to you. Next time something difficult happens, a personal curveball, critical incident, parenting meltdown, just pause for a second and channel that little old farmer wisdom. Is good or bad? Was it? Maybe yes, maybe no. We'll see. But that mindset, that's resilience in action. And when that voice creeps in, you know the one, the imposter threat whispering, you're not good enough. You're not exceptional enough. You're not doing enough. You figuratively look that voice right in the eye and you say, I am. Full stop. That's your anchor. That's your truth, and that's enough. I am enough. At the conference, this was the IT Nation community. And it's not just a community of problem solvers. We're all resilient, grounded, resourceful human beings. And now you all have the frameworks, the language, and the mindset to hack this challenge. And hopefully help others do the same. I want to thank you all for spending this time with me today to watch this re-recording. It's been an honor. And I really appreciate you attending my talk today.